Well, a museum in the sky, but it's grounded right here in London. The first pieces in a collection of jets with a Canadian connection were unveiled at the London airport today, and our Jerry Dewan was there.
Thunder over the skies of London as two military jets come in to land at the airport. But these warbirds aren't just visiting, they're here to stay as the first installations in the new Jet Aircraft Museum.
My name is Dwayne Mitchell. I'm currently the Vice President with the Jet Aircraft Museum here in London, Ontario. Found out about the Jet Aircraft Museum at an air show back in 2011. Kind of intrigued that such an organization could exist outside of the military, I guess. We came from a military background. My dad was a chief firefighter for the airports, so we've always been around military jets of some sort. This was a great opportunity when we found out about it to join, at least come out as a member, understand a little bit more about the organization. And then it was more of just helping people fly jets and participate in helping maintain these jets and do some of those kind of fun things that you do. And just to be around them was an amazing opportunity, especially with ex-military jets. Over the years, a couple of members, as a member, we kind of I joined the board. I was asked to join, so we stepped up to help out there. And I guess the biggest part to that was moving forward was is how do we support in different roles the Jet Aircraft Museum, and it became more of a less of a flying club, but more of a over the last year anyway, more of an educational program for youth and educating people in the general public about early jet aircraft aviation.
The organization that was to become the Jet Aircraft Museum started meeting in the late fall of 2007. An opportunity had materialized for the acquisition of 6 T-Bird jet aircraft from the Government of Canada, and favorable financing has already been established to facilitate this acquisition. After much searching for a suitable home for the T-Birds and other aircraft, one was established at the London, Ontario International Airport in December 2008. The support from the Greater London International Airport Authority and local community was strong from the beginning, with many of JAM's membership coming from nearby areas.
I went to the Royal Military College, and so I've got a long history of loving things military, jets in particular. And I went after that into teaching, history teacher, elementary panel principal for about 20 years. After that, I worked with the Ministry of Education for a while and the University of Western Ontario with student teachers, so long background in education. Came to this when we came with our grandsons one day at Doors Open London, and we absolutely fell in love with the place. My wife and I joined the museum that day, and our grandson joined Air Cadets the next week. And we've been looking to maximize our involvement with the museum ever since. Our first entry, I did a little bit of maintenance work, but mainly my wife and I got involved with the store, and we were involved with all kinds of goods that the museum has for sale. But very quickly, our education background led us to a desire to develop an education program for the museum. So Marty and I are directors of the education program, and we are building a program right now specifically targeted at the grade 6 science curriculum. We'll eventually build programs for other grades as well, and external groups like Air Cadets, and hopefully we will have a lot of young people coming to the Jet Aircraft Museum, learning about the principles of flight in a truly unique experience in space.
My name is Ken Kennedy. I'm a retired Air Force pilot. I got involved when I was watching the local news, and there was my old friend Turbo Tarling being interviewed, who had just ferried a T-Bird to London. That was the first I'd heard of the Jet Aircraft Museum, so I immediately Googled it, and I sent off an email to Bob Hewitt, and that was about 4 years ago. So I'm here every Friday and every Saturday to open the place up and to staff the front desk. And when guests come in the door and would like to know more about us and about the airplanes, I guide them around, and depending on their level of interest and their level of knowledge, we have a discussion about the planes we have here and the history of jet aviation during the Cold War. I'm the guy at this museum who can do that because I am a retired Air Force pilot. In fact, I flew for 7 years on the T-33 and on the Tudor, and I instructed on them. So of all the people here, other than the maintenance guys who are learning a lot more, but they didn't know anything when they started, I am the go-to guy here.
JAM is a not-for-profit foundation that has as its primary purposes the acquisition, display, preservation, maintenance, and most importantly, providing in-flight demonstrations for the people of Canada now and for generations to come. The Jet Aircraft Museum exists to create and maintain a dynamic and living history of the modern-age Royal Canadian Air Force and to provide permanent honor for those valiant Canadian men and women who flew these aircraft with distinction in periods of war, peace, and peacekeeping.
Here we're talking about thrust, one of the four forces of flight. They'll have a chance to see a Nîmes 10 engine close up. This is the engine that drives our main collection of T-33s. They'll also have a look at an entirely different kind of engine, a rocket engine from a Falcon missile from one of our Voodoos. Propeller propulsion, propulsion in general, and thrust, hands-on experience at the Jet Aircraft Museum.
The broader purpose of the museum as a museum in the community, I think it's the same as any museum. It's there to educate and inform and entertain. And if I can do this, it will be very satisfying.
JAM's volunteer membership will provide the expertise in all areas of administration, training, hands-on maintenance, and flying operations.
Aviation is a very important part of Canada, both in its history and its present-day development. And I think the more people know about it, the better it is. I'm always enthusiastic to get young people interested in aviation and some of the problems and satisfactions of being in aviation.
My name's Marty Acton, and I'm a former principal and teacher. And we found out about JAM because we brought our grandsons to Doors Open London a couple of years ago. Came in, they had a great experience. We loved this place, so we joined that day. And actually, our oldest grandson joined Air Cadets the following week. I wasn't sure what I would bring to JAM, but I was very interested in the whole concept of it. And because my mother was in the Air Force during World War II, I thought I might have a connection. So I really joined to honor that. I was thrilled when I learned that they wanted to run some kind of an education program, so Doug and I hopped on board with that, and that's led us to today.
Well, the elementary level, I'm sure the instruction will be quite elementary. I'm sure they'll like the little experiments we might do, but I think the greatest enjoyment would be getting in and around the airplane and talking to a real jet pilot.
So when they build their airplanes, they will test them in pairs, and then they will use the control surfaces and move those so that they can change the flight path of their airplane. They'll test them and they will compete against each other, and we'll see what happens.
When students come to the Jet Aircraft Museum, they're going to get an experience like no other. This is not just a classroom, this is a live, hands-on, full-blown experience. They will get up close with one of these jets and look at the wing. Try to understand the airfoil in real life, the curvature of the surfaces. Imagine the airflow over these surfaces and try to understand how those pressure changes cause lift and get this monster into the air.
Well, we're just about to launch the total package, and we have plans for the future as well, of course. But right now we're looking at our grade 6 program, and what we will have is a variety of out-of-the-classroom experiences that children can do here that they couldn't possibly do in the classroom. Not through any fault of the teachers, but this place lends itself to extraordinary experiences for children learning about flight.
They'll have a good close-up look at the aircraft and look at the aerodynamics of every surface. Everything designed by aeronautical engineers to make this thing slipperier and faster. They'll get a chance to sit in the cockpit of a real jet aircraft and manipulate the controls to actually see those control surfaces move and how they would change the attitude of the aircraft in flight. This is going to be one of those oh wow moments that's going to deepen their understanding of the mechanics and the science of flight.
I was a grade 6 teacher and I did teach flight to my students. So I do know what the curriculum calls for, the expectations. Everything that we have here leads directly to that curriculum. So we know and have built our program around having children do relevant items that can speak directly to the curriculum.
Well, to get back to the education part of it, I think in their curriculum they have to learn about mass and weight and forces, and I think it's far more interesting to see these in effect on airplanes than just a dry old diagram on a blackboard.